If you think electronic testing is just about beeping boxes and green screens, you're looking at a $30 billion graveyard of old ideas. 2025 isn't just another fiscal year. It's the moment silicon stopped being the star and software started calling the shots. We're dissecting the annual reports of the giants, Keysight, Teledyne, Rigol, to show you why the big iron era is dying. This isn't a market update. It's a post-mortem of the hardware-only business model. Think of it as the moment the T&M industry realized it's no longer selling hammers, but the physics of the entire construction site. While the rest of the tech world was obsessed with chatbots, the T&M sector was quietly building the nervous system for 1.6T networking and 6G. We're seeing a K-shaped recovery. If you're in AI infrastructure or SiC power testing, you're flying private. If you're still clinging to legacy consumer electronics, you're stuck in coach. The China Plus One strategy has moved from a boardroom slide to a concrete reality in Penang. It's like the industry split into two rooms. One is a high-speed AI rave, and the other is a very quiet library for 4G oscilloscopes. Here's the complication. Hardware alpha is evaporating. When a disruptor can give you 13 gigahertz of bandwidth for the price of a used sedan, your premium brand name starts to feel like an expensive hat. The R&D cost to squeeze another 1% of accuracy out of a probe is now higher than the cost of the probe itself. We're hitting the complexity wall, where traditional engineering is so expensive, it's effectively a tax on innovation. In short, the industry has gone from selling precision to defending margins against a tidal wave of cheaper, smarter clones. We call this the Great Bifurcation. Keysight is building a software moat so deep you need a submarine to cross it. Meanwhile, the aggressors like Rigol and Siglent are using self-developed ASICs to turn high-end specs into everyday tools. Then you have the consolidators like Teledyne, who are essentially playing a giant game of corporate Tetris, buying growth because organic R&D is too slow. The takeaway? You either own the ecosystem, or you're just a line item on someone else's procurement list. Let's talk about 1.6T Ethernet. This isn't just faster internet, it's the plumbing for the AI revolution. We're talking about sub-picosecond jitter. If a signal is off by the time it takes light to travel the width of a human hair, the whole AI cluster fails. This is where the men are separated from the boys. If you can't test PCIe Gen 7, you're not even in the game. It's like trying to time a Formula 1 race with a sundial. The resolution just doesn't cut it anymore. The map is telling a story of two superpowers and a very busy backyard. The Americas still hold the high ground for aerospace and defense, taking 41% of the pie. But look at China, matching that 41% almost dollar for dollar. Why? Because you can't build an EV empire or a 6G network without massive testing spend. Europe and the rest of Asia are effectively the swing states of this industry. It's a bipolar world, and if your supply chain only speaks one language, you're already behind. This is the secret sauce slide. Rigol's ASIC adoption is at 86%, while the legacy industry is still dragging its feet at 32%. Why does this matter? Because using an FPGA is like hiring a versatile freelancer. They're great, but expensive. An ASIC is like a custom-built robot that does one thing perfectly for pennies. This shift allows disruptors to offer 20 GHz performance at 40% less cost. It's the difference between buying a custom-tailored suit and one that's 3D printed to your exact measurements for the price of a t-shirt. Let's pour one out for Ralliant. A $1.4 billion non-cash impairment is a polite way of saying, we paid for a Ferrari and got a bicycle. They bet heavy on the EV hype train, and when interest rates stayed high and EV sales cooled, the bill came due. This is a warning for every M&A-hungry firm. Goodwill isn't money, it's a promise. And in 2025, the market started asking for receipts. It's the ultimate reality check for anyone who thought M&A could hide a lack of organic innovation. Geopolitics is the new specs. Rigol and Siglent didn't build factories in Malaysia because they liked the weather. They did it to dodge Section 301 tariffs and prove they can serve the Pentagon and the PLA simultaneously. This geopolitical resilience is the ultimate insurance policy. In today's market, a Made in Malaysia sticker is worth more than a 12-bit ADC if it means your cargo doesn't get stuck in customs for 6 months. Check the R&D intensity. While legacy firms are coasting at 10% revenue reinvestment, the disruptors are pouring 25% back into the lab. It's a classic innovator's dilemma. If you're Keysight, you have to protect your massive $1 billion spend. If you're Rigol or Siglent, you're playing catch-up with the desperation of someone who hasn't eaten in a week. They're closing the bandwidth gap faster than the incumbents can defend it. It's an R&D arms race, where the person spending the most percentage-wise usually wins the future. If you want to know why Keysight stock is still the gold standard, look at Pathwave. It's not about the hardware, it's about the software ecosystem. Once an engineer builds their entire workflow on your platform, switching to a competitor is like trying to switch from iOS to Android after 10 years. It's too painful to even think about. We call this high switching cost architecture. It turns a one-time hardware sale into a lifelong subscription. It's the Netflixication of high-end physics. Now, the skeleton in the closet. Some firms are holding inventory at 35% of revenue. In a world where chips iterate every 18 months, that's not stock, it's a ticking time bomb. They're hoarding ADCs and DACs to hedge against sanctions, but if the industry pivots to 12-bit as the new floor, that 8-bit mountain becomes expensive landfill. It's like hoarding last year's iPhones. Eventually, you're just the owner of a very expensive pile of obsolete glass. Looking ahead to 2026, the roadmap is clear. Q1 is all about 1.6T reality. No more prototypes, just massive deployment. By Q2, we expect a new wave of ASIC-driven high-res platforms that will make today's mid-tier look like toys. Q4 is where quantum measurement moves from the lab to the rack. The timeline is accelerating. If you aren't planning for sub-THZ 6G today, you're essentially preparing to compete in the 100-meter dash while wearing lead boots. The verdict is in. Hardware is officially a commodity. The algorithm advantage is the only thing keeping margins above the waterline. We're bullish on Keysight because they own the workflow, we're watching Siglent for their sheer speed of absorption, and we're cautious on Ralliant because their balance sheet has too many ghosts. In the 2026 T&M market, you either innovate in code or you die in silicon. That's the 2025 deep dive. If you need the raw data, the full-page sectoral analysis, or a custom R&D audit, reach out to the team at HDIN Research. Drop us an email at sales@hdinresearch.com or hit the link in the description. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow at HDIN230 for more high-level insights on the tech that actually builds the world. We'll see you in the next one.